Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the first podcast to bring the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I am your host, Butch Thierry. We have a great show lined up for you guys this week, but first, let's hear who's making the show possible. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Great Days Outdoors. Are you looking for that one-of-a-kind Christmas or birthday gift? If so, head on over to greatdaysoutdoors.com and check out the best gifts for outdoorsmen 2021. We've curated a bunch of unique gift ideas to help you find an awesome gift for the outdoorsman on your list. Just head over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/best gifts for outdoorsmen to check it out. And also brought to you by Fishing Chaos. Fishing Chaos recently announced the launch of its new club module and a partnership with National Scouting Report to significantly enhance exposure, recruitment, and scholarship awards for high school anglers. NSR announced last month the addition of fishing to their already successful sports recruiting program. Fishing Chaos invites all high school fishing teams to create a free club on the Fishing Chaos platform. Clubs can hold tournaments within the high school team or invite rival clubs to compete in CPR, catch photo, release events, as well as live weigh-in events, as Fishing Chaos supports most any tournament formats. The addition of the new Fishing Chaos Club Management module allows coaches to easily communicate with the team about upcoming events. It automates the tracking of Angler of the Year or Team of the Year standings and collects angler results. Fishing Chaos will play a key role in recruitment by collecting data on tournament finishes. NSR will build angler profiles based on these results and other criteria important to college programs. If you're interested in setting up a free team club or a tournament, please contact Fishing Chaos today at fishingchaos.com or call Jesse Wilson at 256-508-1853. All right, folks, we have another great Alabama saltwater fishing report lined up for y'all this week. I am your host, Butch Thierry, and I'm joined with Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection this week. How we doing today, Cap?
Man, I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day here in South Alabama. Where you at this week? It's like a little different background there for you.
It's the back of a hotel room in Scottsdale, Arizona. Not too much fishing happening in Scottsdale. If you're into golf, they have really nice weather and a ton of golf courses.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I've actually heard a lot of good things about the golf. I have a friend that lives out there. He's a doctor, and he loves it, man. He said it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. He loves the climate. For good things about Arizona.
Yeah, if I was a golfer, this is where I would be.
If you were a golfer, I'm terrible at golf. That's why I fish.
Same here. I've never even swung a pair of clubs, but I'm assuming I would be. I like to judge people while they're hitting, though.
Oh, for sure.
Professional, not a professional.
Yeah, I like to drive the golf cart and yell things at people.
Yeah.
Well, man, what else has been going on? How are things in Orange Beach, Alabama?
Man, things are good. It's that time of year. We're still stretched out. We had a little bit of an Indian summer, so it stretched in to late into the fall, and it's starting to cool off a little. But from what I understand, we got lots of beach fishing that's pretty good right now. And man, the flounder fishing. I was just before we got on here, I was telling you about a buddy of mine. He had a 10 and a 7.5 on the same day. It's just monster
Incredible
fish.
Yeah, can't keep them right now. Obviously, November shut down. So that's a good thing, man. I mean, let those fish live. I think that this year, I don't think there's any doubt about it now. Last year we were kind of like, is it the new regs? Is it this? Is it that? I think it's pretty obvious what's happening. Those fish numbers are insane. And I hadn't fished for them a ton before this year, but the people that have said it's just incredible. Banner year. You're seeing a ton of those fish, in the 10 to 12 inch range. That's got to be an awesome thing.
I guess we'll have Blakely on here in a little bit and we can dive into that some. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm not a flounder fisherman, but the guys that I know that do it, they're saying some of the best trips they've ever had have been this year. It's amazing between what we can do as fishermen and regulations and putting and hatchery raising fish and just resilience of the species and Mother Nature, how quickly that can bounce back.
Yep.
Granted, we shouldn't try to decimate it and bounce it back all the time, but it does have to make you feel pretty good about it.
Enjoy it while you can, for sure. Enjoy it and take care of the resource. That's all you can do. And hopefully it's just an upward hill climb from here.
Yeah.
Or downhill, I guess, whichever way you look at it. All right, Angelo, before we go get our first report this week, we're going to head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama. Let's see what Blakely Ellis is up to with CCA Alabama. How are we doing today, Blakely?
Doing good. How are you doing, Butch, Angelo?
Doing great.
Good. Yep. Angelo's highfalutin somewhere over in Arizona.
I don't know if it's highfalutin. It ain't that. It's nice and warm. I'll give it that. Y'all are actually, when I left this morning, it was warm. So
yeah, I think it's about 70 right now. So Pretty good shape. What's going on over there, Blakely? I know you guys have a big CCA online auction coming up. Tell us a little bit about it and just give us the rundown.
Yeah, this is going to be probably our second to last auction of the year, but this is our fall online auction, and we're gonna open it up on Monday, the November 15th at 6:00 p.m., and then we're gonna close it the following day, Tuesday the 16th at 9:00. So
9 p.m.
Yeah, 9:00 p.m. So that should give everybody a little over 24 hours to check everything out, and then kind of get your strategy together so you can come in and either set a bid on an item and see if you win it, like eBay. You can set a max bid, or kind of get your strategy together for that crunch time, that last hour or so when most of the bidding takes place. But yeah, it's going to be big. We've got this will be our biggest one of the year. We've got tons of great stuff that I'm really excited about. This is the auction that has a lot of our guided trips with folks like Sam Glass, sight fishing for redfish or fly fishing. You got Patric Garmeson donated a trip, and then some really unique ones like Hayden Olds. He's not a guide captain, but he is one of the
best tarpon fishermen in the state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
You could say that, and he has the hardware to back it up. He's placed first in the tarpon category for the Alabama Deep Sea Fishing Radio 4 times, and he's placed 10 times. And he graciously donates his time each year for this auction, and that's a guided tarpon trip for, let's see, I think it was 2 or 3 anglers, and it's out of his 21-foot contender, and it's out of it's on the Alabama Gulf Coast, and it's usually in July. So that's one of the lifetime opportunity that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else from here. And so,
well, that's what I was just thinking. Maybe me and Angelo could work out a little deal where we could split this thing. Is that legal?
I'm down with that, Butch. Just so you know.
Is that legal? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we shouldn't
That's
ask,
fine.
right?
Just don't bid against yourselves.
That's right.
I had a buddy of mine at that one we did a few weeks ago that I was watching as him and his dad were bidding against each other and stuff. And afterwards, I called him and I was like, "Hey, look, I know you didn't know y'all were doing this, but I'm not going to take your money like that. So here's where it would have shook out if y'all got your heads together." But
that's funny.
But yeah. And that Hayden tarpon trip last year, I went in and I was looking at the bids. I can watch them, real time and see what has some activity. And I woke up like Saturday morning and I pulled it up just to kind of see. And there was like all this activity. And I was looking, I was like, what in the world? There was like 35 bids within like 20 minutes of each other at like 6:00 in the morning on Saturday. And I looked and it was two guys bidding back and forth over Hayden's tarpon trip. It was so funny to watch that.
That's awesome.
6:00 in the morning going after it. But yeah, so we've got, some really good guided trips. I'm probably going to have, vacation style trips, either maybe something to the Bahamas, to Abaco, or one of our red rum trips down to Cabo. So likely you'll have at least one of those, maybe both of them, because I know people are ready to start traveling again, and we're going to have some of that in the auction. And we've got some of the stuff I'm most excited about is some of the things that I've ordered like a long time ago, and we finally have got it in stock. But we've got a lot of great reels from Daiwa, some of their brand new reels they just came out with, the Saltwater spinning reels. And we've got tons of TFO stuff. I'll have 14 different TFO rods. That's just conventional or spinning rods. We'll have.
Hey, TFO, what is that? Toadfish Outfitters?
Temple Fork Outfitters.
Okay.
They make some super duper nice rods.
They do?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Lefty Cray was one of the guys that helped found that company. So yeah.
So that is a nice rod.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good. It's a high performance rod, but at a budget price point. So.
But you do have a bunch of toadfish stuff too, as well, correct?
Yeah. Yep. We'll have a lot of the toadfish stuff everybody's been familiar with. There's folding cutting boards, the folding fillet knives, including the new ones they just came out with, the extra large size. So we'll have extra large size cutting boards and knives. And then the only item that I won't be able to ship out immediately after the auction is going to be something that we're still waiting on, and nobody's going to have them yet. And I don't know, I might be some of the first people to have them down here when they do ship at the end of the month. But that's the new toadfish spinning reels. we saw those at ICAST back in July down in Orlando, and that was definitely one of the items that I left that show. Big takeaway. That was one of the neatest products that I was looking forward to. And so those are going to ship out right around Thanksgiving, and so we'll have some of those in the auction. And chances are, you might, if you purchase one of these, you very well might be one of the first people around here to get your hands on one, because they're really good partners of ours, and they promised me we'll get ours priority. So anybody that needs some Christmas shopping early, you can get that checked off your list. If any of the wives out there or girlfriends need some help, they can send us a message or give me a call, and I'm happy to guide them through something that their significant other might like. And then you won't be checking something off your list, and also helping out, CCA Alabama, which all the money we raise stays here in the state for our conservation project. It's a worthy cause.
Well, I mean, y'all do a lot of great projects. I know my wife was involved at the highest levels for a few years, and just, I mean, all the reefs and everything CCA does. I don't know if like everybody knows like exactly the amount of money that they raise, not just for the reefs, but for the lobbying portion of it that really affects their snapper season, for one thing. Without somebody that can raise money and put the money in the right people's pockets to go tell our congressmen and senators and spread the word about what we want down here on the coast, a lot of that never happens without somebody like CCA in the background making that happen. And that's only possible because people come on here and bid on these items. And I'll say this, last time I was fishing with Butch, we kept a couple trout and got back, and Richard whipped out that fillet knife and that toadfish cutting board, and he knocked out about 10 trout in about 10 minutes and sent us on our way. It was pretty sweet.
He loves that stuff.
Yeah, Richard is a fan for sure. I'll tell you who else is a fan. Right when I got those, I called up my buddy, Chef Brody Olive at the Freedom Beach Resort. So he's a big fisherman, and he also cooks he runs a tight ship over there at Voyagers at Freedom Beach Resort. And side plug for him, they do a great job. Go check it out. But as soon as I got the first of those knives and cutting boards in, I was like, hey, Brody, come check these out. I was like, I want the chef to take a look at this and tell me if it's going to hold up or whatever. And he's like, okay, I'll try it out and all this. And he came back, he said, yeah, man, it works. It held up. He's like, I don't really see a fail point on it. And so that was a pretty good endorsement from him. But yeah, those little products are pretty slick. They're neat. For sure. They're good price points too, Yep,
definitely good for the average consumer. Well, if folks want to, I know you guys usually do a, text this to this number. Is that the best way to get in this one too? Go ahead and tell us how to do that.
Yeah. Yep. So you can text. The number you're going to be texting to is 76278, and the text that you're going to write out, the message will be CCA Fall 2021.
That's easy enough. CCA Fall 2021 to 76278.
That's right. I know running out of time, but I've got a huge shipment of TFO fly rods and reels that I've been waiting on for a long time. So I'll have 6 or 7 different fly rods from 2 weight all the way up to 8 weight, and then 7 or 8 fly reels, and then 6 or 7 pairs of Costa sunglasses, and lots of good stuff from AFCO, and then Sims. So I ran out of time here, but we'll have a lot of good stuff. I think it's definitely worth taking a look at.
Awesome, man. We appreciate all that you do at CCA Alabama. We appreciate all you do for us. Thanks for being a sponsor, and thanks for bringing the podcast to everybody each week for free. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
Talk to you next time, Blakely. Thanks.
All right.
All right, Angelo, it's always good to hear from Blakely, man. Let's head on down and get our first report. Let's start off with Offshore this week. Let's head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama. Let's see what Captain Kendall Annan's doing with Gulf Rebel Charters. How are we doing, Captain Kendall?
What's going on, guys?
Oh, man. Wishing that I was getting out to fish a little bit more like you.
Yeah, we've been trying to thread the needle here. These fronts have been killing us, man.
It's been blowing. It blew, Thursday, Friday, Saturday? It blew like crazy over here.
Yeah, it was blowing. We left late on our last trip and got back early, so we squeezed it in, though. But we ended up finding some fish. Good
deal. You guys went after tuna and yellowfin, blackfin, that kind of deal?
Oh, yeah, we got to get offshore, do a little trolling, chunking, and we ended up getting some nice yellowfin, and I think one was 100 pounds and one was 75 pounds, and a handful of blackfin, but good-sized blackfin.
Kendall, where are y'all fishing? I mean, you don't have to give direct locations, but are you up in the ghetto? Or are you up a little south of that? Where are y'all at?
It's kind of been everywhere for real. I'm not saying that just to say it, but the water's been great, and the biggest thing is finding the bait. Once you start seeing some flying fish and all that, and if you're marking, you're in the right area. But here recently, we've been running a little bit past that, just trying to, out by the drill ships mainly. They seem to be less sharky and less barracuda on the drill ships. But this past trip, our bigger yellowfin were caught on the rigs outside.
You guys catching them chunking or trolling? I know you said you did a little bit of both, but were both beneficial, or did you guys hone in on something that was working better than the other?
Yeah, both were good. I think we pulled off some big ones on the trolling, which is unfortunate, but that happened. But we ended up catching some small ones, but 40-pounders trolling. So that was a good little bonus fish. And then, but our big ones were caught on chunking. And one was on chunking and one was actually jigging. So it was took a little bit of everything to get them.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, man. It's always a surprise. Not always a great surprise. It depends on what you hook it on, I guess, whenever you're jigging.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes not a great surprise whenever you get pinned to the gun and you're like, crap. I wish I had a bigger reel.
Yeah. And I tell them that all the time, and you just never know what you're going to get. And I always try to make sure, especially our jigging rods, which is just our normal, snapper rods, are spooled up to the max. Because if you go out there with some, light spool and you do hook on a big one while jigging, you're in for it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely seen some feelings hurt at 2 or 3 in the morning, fighting until daybreak, even on spinning rod. It's not great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always fun to get them on some light tackle. But like I said, you just got to be ready to, tackle the monster on it. Do
battle. That's right.
Kendall, were you seeing any fish busting flyers at night or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, right at night, they were busting all night. And like I said, the night bite seems to be what's going on right now. And as soon as morning hits, it just shuts down, jumping all night. You still getting a show in the morning, but it's kind of the opposite. Usually in the morning, that's like your money time. But here recently, they just shut off in the morning. But yeah, we started jigging late at night, and like I said, we ended up catching the 100-pounder on the jig, and just mixing it up. I mean, a lot of people ask what kind of jigs do we use, but I like to mix bag it because you don't know what. Some days the glow in the darks work, and some days your chromes work. So I throw it all out there, and this time it was the powder blue coated jig, but 10-ounce jig, a little heavier than the 8-ounce.
Yeah, what was the current like out there? Did it have a factor?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It's real. I think the biggest thing was the wind. It was just whipping, but as far as current, wasn't much to it. You can kind of snake it back and forth, worming it, but little drifts here and there. And, but they did good. Like I said, we didn't have too many people fishing at once. Some of them got a little queasy, but it worked out. It worked out in our favor, because we got some jigs in the water and we got to chunk a little bit too. And we ended up getting one on both. So it works out. We don't like to do too much when everybody's trying to jig. If you got 10 people jigging, then you really can't, especially if the wind's blowing or current, you can't really get a chunk line or a live bait down. It just gets too. Then blackfin, if you get a blackfin up to the surface, they like to wrap it all up. But we try to sneak one out here and there.
For sure. We had talked to, I think it was Captain King last time, that had done really well on those tuna, and he was marking a bunch of fish like super deep. Well, not super deep, but 200 or 300 foot. And he was having a lot of success just putting a, like a live croaker or a small butterbean hardtail down there with a kind of like a knocker rig and putting it down 200 or 300 foot. And they were catching most of their big fish that way. Yeah. And it works. I think we went to, this is on our chunk line, but same with our bait. When we do that, you want to make sure if you have a super, I like to use a super, super long leader. When I say that, I mean like 12 foot, 15 foot, the ball bearing swivel for sure on it. And that ended up, this is how we caught one of our other big ones too, super long leader, trying to get it on down there. I think we didn't have it to use a super heavyweight, but we did use what was it? I can't even remember now. It wasn't super heavy, but it was a nice 3-ounce lead, I want to say, just to help it kind of get down. Yeah, for sure. Whenever you guys are finding fish at night, whenever you're jigging up these yellowfin and blackfin, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for a cloud of bait on your meter, or are you using your equipment mostly? What are you doing to hone in on these fish at night?
Yeah, I like to rely on the technology, but sightseeing. If there's a school of fish, I like to kind of get over there, and most of the time you're going to mark. But the fish do have tails, so you can't chase the fish. If you're marking down low, that's there's bait in schools. They're gonna find that. But most of the time, some good fish are going to be found up current, ahead of the rig or wherever up current might be. And you're just kind of staying on them, worming it. You're not getting too close to the rig or to the drill ship, for example. You might find a little bit more sharky, just trying to stay up ahead of them. And like I said, up current. That's what best we've had, the best look we got.
Kendall, what about the bottom fish? You catching any of those lately?
Yeah, so we recently just went out and did some work for the Reef Maker. They sunk a supply ship down there off the coast of Louisiana, about 14 miles, about 80 miles from Orange Beach Pass. We got to go out there and, get it located. They wanted to make sure it was sitting upright. And while we were out there, we fished it, and it was sunk back in May, and we ended up catching some nice snapper on it. So it's good to see that producing fish this early. And then we also shot over to the Horseshoe area and did some bottom bumping for some scamp, and we ended up catching some nice scamp and then headed on back in.
Nice. What depth were you fishing in for those scamp, and what were they eating?
Yeah, so the scamp was, we were just looking for a little fuzz, little bottom show, and it was around 200 foot, and we were using, again, 3 or 4 foot fluorocarbon leaders, size 4 to 6, medium-sized circle hooks. We went a little bit lighter on the circle hooks, so we ended up losing a few from the hook, bending and all that, but you can go heavier on the circle hooks, but sometimes they bite a little bit better with the smaller tackle. But we were using the sweet trout, small ones, and some small croakers and some medium-sized pinfish, and it was a nice little bite there, for a minute. But we moved actually after it was getting a little late. We ended up going a little bit more east of there. I don't know if people are familiar with the Elf Rig, but we got past the Elf Rig, and man, the current went from, it was going probably like 3 knots, 4 knots. So we ended up, goose egging down there and ended up going home. But anywhere past that 1209 line, it was ripping.
Yeah, that makes it difficult. It's always interesting to me when you make a move that's not even that far. It'll be dead calm, and then you move, you move just a mile, and then it's a ripping over there. It's always crazy to me.
Yeah, it was about a 10-mile run, and it was on, so we couldn't even get them down there base. And we were using 12-ounce. We could have went heavier, but we didn't bring all the full 9 tackles. But like I said, we already had a box full of fish, and we decided to call it a day after that. Need to fight in that battle.
To me, it's like a standard report for this time of year. Like Kendall said it correct. It's like thread the needle. The fishing's good, but can you catch a weather window? Can you get off work, and can you line up some buddies to go with you when it's time to go? I know Tuesday, man, the Orange Beach Marina was full. People were fueling up boats, icing them down. They're getting ready to go fishing. I'm not there obviously today, so I don't know what the weather looks like, but my guess is some fish being caught today.
Yep, I think you're right, Angelo. I think this is that time of year to where if you got the offshore game, at your ready, you need to be ready to go. You need to have your gear tuned up. You need to be sitting on go. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, like I said, if you can hone in the pattern, and so far the pattern's been on the weekdays. If you look up right now what the weather's going to be like this weekend, it's probably going to be a little bumpy. And so that's what we've been kind of going on. When I got the call at like 5 in the morning to go check on the supply boat. And they're like, hey, boat's ready. We're going. It's calm. And I got up, shot out there, and we left. So no time wasted.
Yep, that's what you need to be on this time of year. Well, man, we appreciate the report. That's a great report. If folks want to get up with you guys and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
They can check us out on the website or Facebook at goforablecharters.com. I'm going to have a YouTube video of that scamp fishing and all that, and a little bit of link on that supply ship if people want to try to, go down there and fish it and all that.
Nice. Yeah. I'd love to find out a little more information about that. You said it's a public reef, right?
Right. It is indeed. So anyway, no, they can, if you want to get in contact with us, they can look us up, website, Facebook at goforablecharters.com. Call us at 747-all-7.
Awesome, man. We appreciate the report as always, and look forward to hearing from you next time, buddy. Be safe out there.
All right. Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you, Kendall.
All right, guys, that was another great segment. Let's take a quick break and check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Alabama Marine Resources. The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers who harvest gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper that their catch must be reported through Snapper Check. This includes vessels, kayaks, and shore anglers who possess any of these reef fish. Reporting is mandatory and must be done prior to landing fish in Alabama, regardless of where the fish were caught. Anglers can report to Snapper Check online at outdooralabama.com or through the official Outdoor AL app. For more information information about Snapper Check or any of the 2021 fishing seasons, please visit outdooralabama.com. And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588. All right, Angelo, let's head on down and get our inshore report this week. Let's go see what Captain Patric Garmeson is doing with Ugly Fishing. What you say, Cap Mug?
Shoot, man, after the last few days of end of last week to the weekend, my windburned face is starting to feel better again, man. It was brutal there for several days fighting that wind, but the fish bit really well during the wind, which was at least a reward for taking that beating I was taking. And then the irony is, as the wind started dying off, the fishing got a little bit tougher. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, I fished Friday and it was blowing a lot.
Yeah, it was nothing short of it, man. And then so we, just doing what I do, trout fish, redfish, get my hands on some shrimp this time of year. Kind of make a cast at a sheephead and just try to round it out as best I can with as many opportunities as I can. I was talking to Richard a couple days ago, and we were talking about kind of each other's successes and failures and stuff. And one of the things that I do with my customers, and I try to use to my advantage as often as possible, is having people on the boat that are looking at me for, like, full blown guiding, like, hey, what should we throw here and where should we cast, kind of thing. So it's pretty nice to have that when I can say, here, you throw a slick lure and you cast in this direction. You use a popping cork and a voodoo and you cast this way, and you do this, and I'm going to do something totally different. I've had one day where nothing small was getting bit, like the little voodoo shrimp was not getting bit. The little slicks weren't getting bit, but a big slick, a regular slick was getting bit really well. And throwing have an American tackle company, it's about the size of like a 3/4 ounce DOA shrimp. It's a pretty good sized shrimp, but they were smashing that one, but they weren't hitting the little voodoo. Richard pointed out, like, I wasn't even thinking about it through the process. When I've got my heads in the weeds, I'm just reacting to whatever the fish are telling me. And Richard was like, well, man, so it sounded like they wanted that bigger profile. I was like, yeah, now that you mention it, I guess that's what it was. That was the ticket for me that particular day. And, the water has been just consistently dropping a little bit in temperature. And I expected the bite to just really get really, really good. And, I don't know, it kind of did the opposite. It really, as it got a little better and better, the bite seemed to get a little tougher and tougher, more finesse needed. And then, like, yesterday I fished, man, we were really having to crawl the baits on the bottom to get really any kind of action. And this was, I felt like was pretty good conditions and easy fishing and whatnot, but it was, man, we had to really, really slow it down.
I mean, I don't think the water temperature is low enough for them to have, like cold fish shock, do you? I mean,
no,
not lethargic winter days yet. What do you think's up with that? Just kind of transitioning, getting used to the colder water temperatures, or what you think?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of different variables running through my head. One of them was we're just coming through these big, giant tidal swings. Anybody that goes to work over the Bayway and hadn't been fishing for the last few days would see the drastic water drops that we've had. And I mean, 3 and 4 foot tidal swings, and then coming off of a new moon, putting the feeding times more kind of middle of the day and at night and stuff. I just think there were a lot of things that were working in a way that just had fish feeding maybe in times better when I wasn't fishing. I don't know. Like, I was almost trying to make the fish bite when they weren't really ready to bite.
Right. Days are much shorter. That's a factor too, I think.
Yep. And then, but going into the new moon, the bite was really good for redfish, and we were having, we had several days where we were catching 20 to almost, I think, just shy of 40 redfish in a day. And a lot of fish just kind of piled up. You might have hit 3 or 4 spots without any action, and then get one bite, slow the boat down or stop your power pole down, depending on what water depth I was in, and just sit there and just wail on them. You know, as long as we kept putting something in there for them to eat, they were eating. But yeah, just behind this moon, it kind of funked things up a little bit for me. But you know, we were still scratching out some fish, and a couple days there, just having a few live shrimp on board really bailed me out of a tough spot and put a bunch of sheephead in the boat. So sheepheaders seem to be kind of in their normal fall, early winter kind of habitats, and I will certainly leverage that anytime I need to.
Old sheepdog. I know you will.
Richard,
Yep.
I mean, Patric, hey, this time of year, I'm just curious, with your live shrimp, are you just keeping them in a bucket with your bubbler? Or can you put them in a live well and restart and put, the water, outside water in it? Or is that going to kill them? What's up with that right now?
In my boat, I've got 3 live wells, and I have the bubble boxes, 12-volt bubble boxes with 2 hoses coming off of each one, going to each one of my live wells. I've got 1 live well that I pretty much keep dedicated for shrimp.
Uh-huh.
And this time of the year, as long as I leave the bubbles on, I could probably have it. Heck, I had 3 dozen shrimp in there for 4 or 5 days. And when I finally went to go buy some more shrimp, there was still 12 or 15 shrimp of that 3 dozen that was alive. That I added another 5 or 6 dozen to, and they stayed alive for several days. And the water's cool, and it slows their metabolism down, so they're not wasting as much. Filling that live well full of ammonia and all that generally is what's killing them. They're not shedding as fast. Most of the bait shops are keeping white shrimp in there. Some of the shrimp in there are brownies, but overall they're not. When that water's really cool like it is, they won't shed a whole lot, so the water stays in pretty good shape.
Cool.
Does that answer your question about the shrimp?
Yeah, that was a lesson right there.
I feel like I'm getting into inshore fishing, and like I kill half the shrimp that I buy, I feel like.
That's expensive. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a live well on your boat that you can just put just straight air to, either recirculating where it's injecting air like a Venturi system where it injects air into the recirculator, or you have just bubbles, then buying a dedicated bait box where you can just put bubbles in there will suffice very well for shrimp. And then also, like, if you're going to try to keep them for several days on end, having some stuff in the tank that they can crawl on. Like, I've got some kind of like poly foam and stuff, or you could throw a rag in there or whatever, just something where they can crawl on, because if they don't have something to climb on, they'll climb on each other, and then they start smothering the ones out, and then you just have a domino effect of the shrimp that are getting climbed on, they die, then they start putting the waste, then they start stinking up the water, and then it's just a domino effect, and it'll wipe out your whole tank.
Man,
so
that's good stuff.
That is good stuff. One other question. You were talking about the day that the fish were eating bigger profile stuff, and I just can't help but to think, this is the time of year that the white shrimp are in, and they tend to be a little bit bigger. Do you think that ever plays into that? Like they're just tuned in on a little bit bigger shrimp that day, or?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if that was exactly the reason, but it was very distinct that if you had the little baby voodoo that is typically a pretty effective bait throughout the year, I mean, it was not getting bit, like right in the middle of where we were catching fish with the other shrimp imitation. Now, the difference was we were throwing the other shrimp as a free line, just throw it out and swim it in, versus popping the cork. So I don't know. I've seen it happen with redfish too, where you're around redfish and the popping of the cork actually either spooks the fish away, or that's the only thing I can think of, is that it would be spooking them versus attracting them. And I don't really, like I said, I don't have an answer for it. I'm more, when I'm in the middle of things, I'm cutting lures off and changing things and instructing guys and gals to fish this way and fish that way and slow it down, speed it up. And I'm just trying to look for a clue to tell me that we're doing something right. And when I find that answer that's working for us, then we start converting over to others, trying to convert everybody over to that particular lure or cadence or whatever it is. So I always say that guys that are going out there fishing by themselves they got a lot more challenges than I do when I've got 2 or 3 anglers that are ready to listen and ready to be guided, where I can have 3 or 4 lines in the water at one time, and the guy fishing by himself, he's got to figure it all out on his own. More power to him.
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely an advantage to have multiple baits, different kinds of baits in multiple areas, different areas on the boat. Like you were saying earlier, cast over here, cast this one over here, do this. It helps a lot to be able to find fish, I'm sure.
Patric, where are you fishing right now? Are you like in the north end of the bay? You're going up into the Delta? Where are you fishing?
So from the Delta down to Foul River, Point Clear area, everything from north of there is all I've done for probably the last time I was on the podcast, because I've done everything north of there. So the Delta itself has been terrible to me. I've had some very reliable sources tell me that they found birds here and there and whacked them real good in particular areas. And a lot of it sounded like they were catching them like kind of right at the tide change. But I personally have not done anything north of the interstate. And as far as speckled trout are concerned, we've caught some redfish and stuff. But the vast majority of my fishing has been the causeway south, staying still in the bay. But as these water temperatures drop, I mean, I was on the water yesterday and it was 60, 63, 64 degrees. And we got another little shot of cold weather. Looks like it'll be cool this weekend. So, I mean, once the water temperatures hold below 70 degrees and colder, it's definitely going to trigger those fish to really start moving into the deeper areas. Maybe not deep, not 18 feet or anything like that, but I would say start looking for them in that 6 to 8, 6 to 10 feet of range. And a lot of our systems have that sort of water depth. But the main thing is just still to right now is I don't want to stay in any one place too long. I tell my customers right now, I'm like, when I get to an area, the very first spot of the morning will probably be the longest we stay somewhere where we're not catching fish, because I want to get kind of let things develop, see if the sun coming up over the horizon gets the fish fired up, or maybe the sun coming up a little bit more, get some bait activity going just to where I can feel good about my first stop. And then after that, I'm running and gunning, make a couple casts. If there's not a bite, then move to another type of area. So maybe fishing wood structure, or we might be fishing grass lines or drop offs or whatever, but I'm going to constantly be kind of going through my Rolodex of structure types until I try to find a pattern that's where the fish seem to behave.
That's good, man. I know what I've seen the past 5 or 6 days. It seems like these tidal rivers are finally starting to clean up a little bit. You seeing the same thing?
Yeah. So as soon as that wind laid out on the bay, I've seen areas with visibility upwards of 4 feet. In certain areas, you could just look down and you could see the washout, like the potholes from the stingrays, and see the trout swimming around. I mean, there was an area where yesterday that you could see the mullet cruising on top, and then the trout were swimming underneath the mullet. So, I mean, we were casting in the areas where the trout were, and they were just cruising. They weren't interested in anything. And this is in Mobile Bay. It's very unusual for you to say that, yeah, I'm in Mobile Bay watching the trout swim around, but it was certainly the case. And trout can be extremely finicky when the water gets super clear. So I don't know if I had any of that working against me the last couple trips. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, whenever the water gets this clear, I mean, what can you do to combat that? Are you changing colors on your lures? I mean, are you just trying to find different things to do, or trying to find areas to where the water isn't so clear?
Yeah, trying to find maybe where there's a little, looking for areas that have some turbidity, or maybe somewhere where there is a little bit of wind or a little bit of current kind of stirring things up would be advantageous. I kind of get a little bit, I don't know, at awe or in awe whenever I can see fish swimming around. Almost paralyzes me a little bit, because I'm like, all right, I see them swimming, so why are they not biting? And it kind of aggravates me a little bit, and maybe slows me down a little bit more than what I should, and stay hunting where I need to be fishing, or where I need to be trying to target the fish. But it seems like when you get into really clear water, trying to make those super long casts becomes extremely important. And then any area that you can find, maybe there's some shade, maybe you're in an area where there's some shade from docks or from trees or something like that maybe be able to help you out a little bit. But definitely, I would stick with what I was telling my customers and not stay anywhere too long if you're not getting bit.
Man, that's a great report, Captain Patric. That's it's a lot of good information there. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge with our listeners. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
First thing is go to my website, uglyfishing.com. Click the book now button. You can see my calendar. That's the best way to find out if I have availability. And then if you just got some questions or whatever, you can call me or text me at 251-747-1554.
Awesome, buddy. We always appreciate the report, and we look forward to hearing from you next time. Be safe out there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, man.
Well, that was another awesome report, and it was brought to you by SunSouth. The work on your property never ends. Whether your work on the land includes tilling, mowing, planting, grading, drilling, hauling, or anything in between, go see them at SunSouth. They'll help you find the John Deere tractor that's right for you with the implements that you need to get your projects done faster, more efficiently, and more affordably. And right now at SunSouth, you can get 0% financing for 72 months on select John Deere tractors. SunSouth, equipment for those that do. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer expires November 30th, 2021. And also brought to you by Boaters List. Boaters List is your new reliable and fast resource designed to link everyone to everything on the water. If you own or run a boat, you know how difficult it can be to find the right company for the task at hand. Boaters List makes it easy to find the service that you are looking for. Locate anything from fuel docks to service repairs or rentals of large yachts, even down to paddle boards and all things in between. BoatersList.com will always strive to make it better on the water. Also brought to you by Sam's Stop and Shop. Sam's Stop and Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach, Alabama. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Sam's also has tackle experts and podcast contributors Chris Veche and Dusty Hayes on hand to answer any questions you may have about any type of local fishing and can also repair your rods and reels if necessary. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today. All right, Angelo, we're going to go down to Dauphin Island, Alabama, get our last report of the day. Certainly not least, excited to have Tanner Deas back on the show with Dauphin Island Fishing. Welcome back to the show, Tanner. How are we doing?
Oh, man, Butch, Angelo, I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me back on again. I hope to provide you guys with some cool information. It's been a good week out here on the beach. Last couple weeks, really. It's been a good time on my feet doing some onshore fishing, so can't wait to tell you guys about it.
Awesome, man.
Tell us a fish story.
Yeah, temperatures are dropping a little bit, or the water temperatures anyway. It's a little bit warmer today, but I think we're starting to see a little bit of lower, stabler water temperatures. So what have you been seeing? What have you been up to?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I heard you and Captain Richard talking about that a lot last week on the podcast, how we're kind of in that transition period. And, we were looking for those water temperatures to sort of sustain a lower temperature, and it's definitely coming. Over here on the beach and on my feet, it's been a lot less trout than it was, and they're making the move to where those guys are upriver and people with boats can have a lot of access to them and really pound them out right now. So I've heard that the fall time and wintertime fishing up in those rivers is amazing. It's nothing I've gotten to be a part of, but I hope to make a trip soon.
For sure, man. We'll have to get you out there. Yeah, we were just talking to Captain Patric Garmeson a few minutes ago, and he's saying that he thinks the fish are feeling those more stable water temperatures, and he thinks pretty soon they're going to be diving off into a little bit deeper water. So, finally, the water is actually clear enough to fish in Fowl and Dog and all those tidal rivers that we speak of. So should be popping off pretty soon, man. Have to get you on one of those trips for sure.
Yeah, man, that would be super awesome. But like we were saying, out here on my feet, out here on the island, things have been good. The redfish bite has been pretty decent, and I'll tell you what, man, the sheep's head bite is really starting to heat up.
Yep, I've been seeing a ton of sheephead on Instagram and Facebook. So let's talk about, start out with sheep's head.
Yeah, absolutely. We can start out with some sheeps.
That's typically I guess that's not true. It's not typically a boat thing. I know a lot of people catch them off of, jetties, and they do come up in the surf a lot, but I don't know. I just think of it as a boat
that's
activity.
A boat fishery. I mean, the fact that he's been catching them, I'm like, can't wait to hear what he's doing.
Tell us a little bit about your setup and how you've been catching them and how you've been able to be so successful with the sheephead this early.
Absolutely, man. A lot of it is I really stumbled upon the sheep's head bite a couple weeks ago. We shot down to the west end of the island on October 31st. That's when I had probably my best sheep's head day around. I went out there with a couple of YouTube guys, and we kept 20 sheep's head and released 20 sheep's head. And we were there for about 4 hours. It was an insane bite. And, you can keep 10 apiece, but it's really not necessary. 5 fish a person was plenty, and we all went home with some groceries, to say the least.
Tasty groceries. Sheep's head's delicious.
Yeah, dude, they're amazing.
Where are you? Are you on like the sandy part of the West End? Or are you back on like the bays? Where are you at?
No, man, we're on the bay side down there. If you find some structure down there, you can find the sheeps. They're running down there, and if you want to see it, they got some great video reference. There's a guy named Salty Swigs on YouTube. We're great friends, and we do a lot of fishing together. If you follow my page on Instagram, Dolphin Island Fishing, you see his face on there a pretty good bit. And I also went out there with a guy named Landon Jones. He's got a YouTube channel as well, and it's called Sea Reaper. And they both made some videos while we were out there. And, dude, we were sight fishing these fish. It was an incredible day. They were just swimming to the top of the water. And, they would literally just follow the bait all the way up. And it was just one of those days where you couldn't drop a bait without it getting ate.
That's awesome. Well, what are they eating? How are you guys? Is it just random? Or you find, like you said, structure, but what are you guys using for bait?
We were walking down there, and it's a little trek if you want to make the walk down the west end to find some structure, but it's there. And we just worked our way up and down that structure down there. We really like to find some areas where the rocks kind of jut out a little further than they do in any other position. I do the same thing when I'm fishing the east side jetties. And this time we were just dropping fiddler crabs down there. But like I said, when I was on here a few weeks ago, you can do the same thing with hermit crabs. Beat them open and put them on your hook, and they'll just swallow those things up.
You just free lining them with a hook. Kind of walk us through your terminal tackle setup. You have a leader, what length, and you just free lining them?
Absolutely. So I'm not free lining them. A lot of what I've been doing has been just a Carolina rig. I've got an 1/8 ounce egg weight on my rod right now, and I've got about a 12-inch leader under a barrel swivel with a #1 Gamakatsu live hook, but I was fishing them with a circle hook, and I'll have to give you guys a little tidbit tip on these hooks here. I really increased my hookup ratio learning from Salty Swigs. He showed me an awesome tip with these sheep's head. I usually just target them with circle hooks, but he's got a special hook there, and it really changed the game for me when I switched.
Sweet. Looking forward to hearing that tip for sure. Well, what else, man? You talked about redfish. Kind of walk us through what else you've been doing this past week.
Yeah, so to walk you guys through my week, November 4th, I spent some time on the south side of the island. I was trying to target speckled trout and redfish, and I didn't have any luck with the one spots, but I did end up finding some speckled trout while I was there. I caught 4 and ended up tagging 2 of them, tagging and releasing them. They were 15 and 16 inches, so that was really cool. I caught 2 others that were around 6 and 7 inches, and I really just wasn't comfortable tagging them. I wanted to be a little bigger, and so I let them swim too. But I was fishing with just a white paddle tail and a gold eye, something real simple, and they were really killing it. Actually, just like you guys were talking on the podcast last week, I saw some birds and a lot of small splashes in the area. And so I figured that some trout may be showing up in it. And it just so happened that a school of them swam through for about an hour, and I got to catch a few.
Man, that's awesome. Let's talk about your tagging a little bit. I'm glad to have set you up, or helped you get set up with CCA Alabama and in their tagging project. You've been enjoying that? You've been doing some of that?
Man, it's been so awesome. I think it's so cool to be able to be a part of the fish research. It's something that I'm very thankful you allowed me to be a part of. Thank you for getting me in the door on that. And I have tagged, I would say, 8 or 10 fish since I've gotten it. I also tagged 2 other redfish that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute on a boat trip. And that was really a great time too. So I think it's my favorite to tag the redfish, but I like catching speckled trout more. I just can't find them right now.
No, that's kind of what Patric was saying too. It's been tough, man. He's been having a really tough time too on the inshore stuff from a boat as well. He was talking about how the water clarity's, just been insane, and he's just seeing speckled trout swimming under mullet schools, and he just can't catch them. It's got to be super frustrating.
Yeah, man, I can only imagine. There's definitely been some times where I went thinking that I would catch more numbers and just haven't. And, the bite's just pesky, but like we said, it's going to turn on here soon and just be perfect.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's a little bit different of a time. You talk about, I know you had a really great summer from the beach, and I just think it's that time of year where the fish are kind of moving away from that beach a little bit.
Yeah, dude, I agree. All those guys that have boats and have river access are going to get on that perfect trout bite and just find that same bite that's going on in the spring on the beach. The fish are fired up in a real similar way. They're just in a different area.
Just elsewhere. Agreed.
It's like you have to change what you're, I think what's pretty interesting, we're just kind of playing it out here right now, is that you've been fishing for sheep's head, which have kind of moved in on the structure along the beach, whereas, in the springtime, they're on that structure, but they're also kind of out on the rigs. It's, to me, more of a boat fishery.
Definitely.
I want to, you were kind of starting to tell us a little bit about the fishing the East End jetties. I'm curious, like, what are you seeing better fishing right now? The structure out on the West End or kind of on the East End of the island?
I'm catching more numbers of sheep's head on the West End, but I'm catching more size and better quality fish on the east side of the island right now. I actually broke my PB 2 days in a row. I really don't know what size my PB sheep's head was before this season. So I caught a nice 18 and a quarter the other day at the east end, and then the very next day, out on a boat, I caught a 19. So that was really cool and really awesome. And the bigger fish seem to be on the east side, but there does seem to be more quantity and an easier bite on the west side of the island with the sheep's head.
Fiddler crabs for there as well?
I am. I have been using a lot of fiddlers. I've been fishing a lot with those guys over there, Salty Swigs and Landon at Sea Reaper, and they have access to the bait shops over there in Gulf Shores, and they just have fiddlers like crazy, and they're a lot harder to get over here. So anytime I can get my hands on them, I do. But when I can't, I'm doing the hermit crab trick with the hammer, knocking them open and using that. And it works just the same. I mean, it really does. It's the same quality bait. You get the same amount of bites. And, there's people out there that are doing it all the time. I just saw a guy out there this past week with a bucket and a hammer and collecting hermits, and then hopped on the jetties with a fishing rod and a popping cork and ended up catching a few. So it definitely works.
Personally, I think the hermit crab is a superior bait, especially you just pull off that soft part at the end. They're like filet mignon to sheep's head.
I think they do like them a lot more. I think they stink more. I think the sheep's head are down there, naturally targeting those anyways, just like they are the fiddler crabs. But, if you walk down the beach or down any marsh areas right now, there are no fiddlers. But if you were to do it in the spring or summertime, they would be a million. They would be in high abundance. So fiddler crabs may be harder for them to come by right now, too. I really don't know.
Sure. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Well, let's talk about your boat trip a little bit, man. I don't know how much you get out on a boat. You just kind of new to us on the onshore thing. So just kind of walk us through your boat day. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, I got the opportunity to get out on the boat with Captain Collier. We've done a little bit of fishing together here and there, and Brandon is an excellent fisherman and has an awesome YouTube channel. If anybody on here has never checked it out, he's Captain Collier on YouTube, and he's got some awesome videos fishing in our area. He invited me out on the boat and ended up having the other guys on the boat too, Salty Swigs and Sea Reaper. They came with us, and we went and targeted some sheep's head inshore for about 2 hours. We put a one-man limit on the ice in the boat, and that was a really good time. And then we shot offshore to do a little snapper fishing and get some red snappers, and we got a 4-man limit of red snapper. None of those were too sizable. They were all about 17 or 18 inches, and we caught a load of undersized triggerfish. But we had a bonus fish down there. We were in about 75 feet of water, and Landon, he caught a scamp grouper, 17-inch scamp grouper in 75 feet of water, which was I'm not
That's
a
a
boat
treat.
guy, but Captain Collier said he'd never seen something like that happen.
Yeah, that's definitely a treat, man. That's a fun fish to catch. And yeah, you're right. You usually don't see those until about 200 feet for sure.
Yeah. I tell you what I'm most interested in is the fish fry that y'all had afterwards.
That's what I was thinking. Those 17 inches are perfect. Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking. That's the good eats right there.
Yeah, man. I think Landon ended up taking that home and being stingy with it. So you'll have to ask him how it tasted because I didn't get any of that one.
Maybe you can Snapchat some photos of that of the food to us.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Live vicariously through him. Well,
I'll tell you what, I took some of those sheep's head that we caught, and today I made myself an excellent lunch. I had some sheep's head ceviche. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but that's one of my favorite ways to eat those fish.
I've never done it with sheep's head, but I mean, I've done it with every other fish, and I don't see why sheep's head would be any different. It's always delicious.
It would be perfect for that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the bay snapper. It's just a flaky white meat, so it worked out perfect, and it was really good.
Well, good, man. What else? Did you get back onshore after the offshore trip?
I did, man. I did get the opportunity to hop back on the east side. Me and Salty Swigs had another trip the very next day. We spent a few hours on the jetties before he hopped back on the ferry and headed over back home. We caught 3 or 4 sheep's head that morning, and I ended up catching one undersized flounder on a fiddler crab. How crazy is that?
It's interesting. He was hungry. It was a hungry flounder.
I guess so. I mean,
I've seen them eat weirder. I mean, I've caught them on the full size slick lure before. I've caught them on. I mean, I think they just eat anything. I think flounder are very opportunistic feeders. They're not going to turn down a good meal if it's in front of his face. I don't think.
Me and Butch can't hardly catch a flounder fishing for him, and Tanner's over here with a fiddler crab trying to catch sheep's head.
That's true.
I'll tell you what, dude. I felt the bite, and it was such a good thump. I thought I had another PB sheep's head on. I was like, oh my gosh, this bite was not subtle at all. I yanked that thing in the next week, and that little flounder didn't have a chance to fight me. He was probably out of the water in 10 seconds.
Oh, man, that's fun, dude. Well, how about that tip? We talked about a tip.
Yeah, we did. I wanted to share that with you guys. I did a lot of my sheep's head fishing with just, your normal circle hook. It could be 4, 6, 2. It didn't really matter to me. I just ran a circle hook on everything. And I was really missing a lot of fish, and I was having a struggle with the bite. And old Swigs over there was hooking up every other cast. So I got a little frustrated with him, and I said, hey, man, what are you doing different than me? And he said, well, what kind of hook are you running? And he said, no, switch over to what I'm using. So he runs an Owner #1 mosquito hook or a Gamakatsu #1 octopus live bait hook. And as soon as I made the switch to one of those hooks that wasn't a circle hook, either of those brands worked excellent. I didn't miss a fish. The hookup ratio was just incredible. And I swear, as far as fishing for sheep's head goes, I won't buy another hook or try. I mean, it was just amazing.
Is that more of a Kale style?
It's just more of like a J hook. It looks just like a live bait hook. It doesn't have much curve to it. Nothing extra about it. Just a real sharp J hook, but it's kind of thick.
A really short shank hook, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a real thin wire type shank hook, and it goes right between their teeth. Yeah. And I think that's key, because when you go to hook those fish sometimes, that hook has to get through that hard tissue and that bone tissue that those sheep's head have in their mouth, those freaking molars, rows upon molars of teeth.
Oh, yeah.
If your hook's not perfect, if it's not going in the right spot, or it's not real sharp, or, maybe like a circle hook where it's kind of bent, it may not be getting in there just right. And so the hook change really worked for me. I've had way more fish on ice since. So I probably won't make the switch back to the circle hooks for sheep's head.
I would say, I think you're onto something there, man. That's a great tip.
Circle hooks are great.
Yeah, man.
There are some species that they're just not built to hook. I mean, dolphin, to me, are hard to hook on a circle hook. I mean, you can do it, but they're way easier to hook with a treble or a J hook.
Well, they just have a weird shaped mouth, too. As do the sheephead. They have a very special mouth. The thing's crazy. I mean, just open up one of their mouths and you can see how crazy it is.
I have just been learning so much about these fish. I mean, we're not even in the thick of it at all with these sheep's head, but this first couple of weeks where I've been in this transition period, I haven't been able to catch trout and target them like I was in October or through the summer or anything like that. And, a lot of my main target when I go down there has been these sheep's head. I've been cleaning them and learning more about what they're eating and stuff like that. And the name sheep's head is perfect for these things because 9 times out of 10, especially the past 10 days, almost every sheep's head that I have cleaned is slapped full of marsh grass or algae.
Interesting.
That is
I've
interesting.
never
I mean, it is
I've
like
never
they're
looked.
literally grazing.
That's interesting, man. We just talked to Captain Patric Garmeson. Did you know he holds the Alabama state record for sheep's head?
I did. I actually didn't know until I went out on the boat with Captain Collier on this trip because he had it before Patric Garmeson did.
That's right. Yep, that's right.
And I had no clue, but they have both caught some freaking studs. That is a huge sheep.
That's a big sheepdog for sure, man. Well, Tanner, it's great to hear from you, man. That's a great report. That's a great tip. Folks want to follow you on Instagram. Give them a shout out.
Yeah, man. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's called Dolphin Island Fishing. And if you want to check me out on Facebook, it's Tanner Deas, Deas. To see any of the fishing that I've talked about on this report here, you can check out Salty Swigs, Sea Reaper, and Captain Collier on YouTube. These guys are just awesome friends of mine. We're developing better relationships and doing some more fishing together. So hopefully you guys can see some awesome fish caught in our area on their videos and on their channel.
Awesome, man. That's one cool thing about where we live is there's always something to catch. Like you say, you like speckled trout a little bit more than the other things you've been catching, but there's always something to catch here. It doesn't matter. 12 months out of the year, you can find something to catch. That's a cool part about our fishery.
That's right, man. It's a beautiful fishery, and it's so awesome. I really didn't know that I was such a speckled trout guy until the winter seemed to progress here a little bit further. I happened upon that school, and I got to catch 4 that day, and that 15 and 16-inch trout that I caught and tagged, it like really got me hype. I was super excited. I could tell that it was a trout as soon as it hit. And I was like, yeah, that's the trout. I hadn't had a trout bite in weeks. And I was like, well, I've been saying I'm not a trout guy, but maybe I am.
I love it, man. We appreciate your information. We appreciate you sharing your wealth of knowledge with our listeners, man. We look forward to hearing from you next time.
Thank you guys so much for having me on, Butch. It's always a pleasure, and I hope to be back soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tanner. Have a good week. Be safe out there.
Yes, sir. You as well.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. You'll take a minute to check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. And also brought to you by Test Calibration. If your diesel has low power or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel, turbochargers, and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratindieselandturbo.com. All right, Angelo, before we get out of here today, we got to do What Did You Learn, man? Had a great show this week. It's a lot of good information.
I mean, it never ceases to amaze me. Like, to me, we're coming into the tough part of year for fishing. You can catch stuff here all year long, but it's a little bit tougher this time of year. And like, here we go, another show, something like somebody throws something out there that I'd never heard of. And I'm like, well, that's pretty good information.
Yeah. Been fishing
what
my
did you
whole life.
learn?
Man, I have a couple of things written down over here. I thought one thing that stuck out to me for sure was Captain Patric talking about whenever clarity, gets the way it is right now in certain areas. I mean, you can see 4 or 5 foot, which is very rare for around Mobile Bay. Anybody that's ever fished anywhere around here knows it. He was talking about making super long casts to kind of get where that fish can't see you and or getting away from, your boat or where you're fishing from, and fish finding shadows. That was one cool thing that I picked up too, is how to combat that water clarity, was finding some shadows like under a dock, which that makes sense. It's going to be darker. You're not going to be in the your lure and your setup, your terminal tackle or your braid to mono isn't going to be just blasted out there in the bright sun. So I definitely picked that up. What about you, man? What'd you pick up today?
Man, I'll tell you, Patric's tip on keeping the shrimp alive, I've never heard of anybody doing that. And like I said earlier, I like blow through. I mean, I'm like where shrimp go to die is my live well.
You're the death chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever he was talking about putting foam in his live well, you mean, or a rag?
Yeah, foam or a rag or something. I mean,
I've never heard that.
Tip. I never heard anybody say that or do that. It's just one of those things that just, you get somebody on here that does it every day. He probably doesn't even think about it as a tip.
Agreed.
But I don't even know how he figured that out, whether that was just
there's no telling with that guy.
Salty guy told him that one day. And
yep.
The other thing that just kind of sticks out in my head, and I'm not sure if it's something I learned, but it's something that I have to be reminded of, is that as somebody that's grown up fishing his entire life and tends to fish with people that fish a lot already, is that you get stuck in your ways. And when you get somebody like Tanner on here and he is out there doing things and just doing things differently, sometimes just because he's just figuring it out. Yep. That I think that like the value he brings to the show and the listeners is so good. And I also just think that if you're a listener out there, there's probably a lot of Tanner D's out there.
Oh yeah.
That are in that same boat, and to have somebody else out there kind of figuring it out and being very free and open with the information, I think it's just great.
Yeah, me too. I like Tanner a lot. I think he brings a cool aspect to the show. And I definitely agree with you. Like we were talking about a minute ago, I feel like sometimes, and Tanner was saying the same thing, he's just figuring it out. He's learning new things every day. And I feel like sometimes and I'm not talking about myself as a seasoned angler or, somebody that fishes so much, you just get jaded and, or you overlook so many details that are so important to the fundamentals of fishing.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think
you get used to doing what you do. You go somewhere, you try the 4 or 5 things you know how to do in that particular situation. And, you leave and some guy ties a shrimp on backwards and smokes them,
Yeah. All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Let's take a quick break. Check out a few of this week's sponsors. What Did You Learn was brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last, right here in the USA. With durability and convenience in mind, MB Ranch King's maintenance-free blinds are constructed with high-grade steel and come in a variety of sizes to meet any hunter's needs. They offer high-quality, easy-to-use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. And also brought to you by Advanced Transmission. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com.
Well, dude, I thought it was a great show again this week. I always appreciate you having me on.
I agree, Angelo. It's always great co-hosting with you, man. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to share your knowledge and be a great interviewer for our guides and bringing people the fishing report each week. Appreciate it.
Awesome, dude.
Catch you on the flip side whenever you get back from Arizona.
Whenever that is. I'll see if she'll be in the next few weeks.
For sure, man. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for being a sponsor. Thanks for bringing the podcast to the people each week for free. What's been going on in real estate in Orange Beach? Anything new and note-taking?
Man, I'll tell you, one of the things that I do every week is that we look at the market and a 7-day snapshot. And we do this in Mobile County, Baldwin County, and then we'll break it off into Destin, Panama City, 30A. We'll do that. But since I'm in Orange Beach, we look at it very specifically in Orange Beach and Gulf Shores a lot. And one thing that I've noticed over the past couple of weeks, I'd say probably the past 5 to 6 weeks, is that at one point, kind of late in summer, we were jumping up to about 38 days of inventory. And what I mean by that at is when you take a 7-day snapshot and you look at how many properties came to market. So if you had 100 properties come to market, but you had 200 go under contract, then you're outpacing the market by 50%. So if it's a 28-day cycle on 7 days, 4 days, and that's how I look at it, a month, 28-day cycle,
right?
7 days, divide that by 7 gives you 4 cycles. So we're running about, right now, about 22 to 23 days of inventory, which just is that demand is starting to outpace inventory, outstrip it. And I think that's pretty significant because we've had a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. And I would say this, look, everybody's situation is different, but if you've been looking at real estate, whether you're in Panama City or Dolphin Island or Orange Beach or Destin, wherever, we're seeing that on all markets right now. It's picking up. And I don't know if this is it definitely has some momentum, but if you've been on the fence, right now is a good time to go start putting some offers in. There's been properties that have been sitting for a minute. It's a good time to go see if some of those people have enough fear built up in them that they'll accept those offers.
I love it, man. Yeah, I love it. Well, if folks want to get up with you and check out the Coastal Connection and the inventory that you guys have to offer, what's the best way to get up with you?
Man, it's the easiest way is to call my office. It's 251-279-0099. Or you shoot me an email, angelo@thecoastalconnection.com. We have a great website, thecoastalconnection.com. You hit that property search button on there. And one of the things that's very unique to us, like I always say, we cover from Dolphin Island to Panama City, but you can look for everything that's on the market in any of those markets. It's free. It will eventually ask you to register, but it'll do it after like 300 photo views. We've tried to get them to push it out for more. That's the max that they'll let me do. It's not a bad thing. If you want to register, we're not going to blow you up and call you every day of the week and spam you, but it does allow you to kind of put your information in there. It's AI run. So as you're kind of looking, the website's kind of seeing what you're looking at and can feed you those kind of listings. Pretty cool.
Yep. That's definitely good stuff, man. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And again, thanks for being on the podcast and thanks for being my co-host today. I look forward to doing it next time.
Hey, same here. Chat to you next week.
All right, folks, just going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll talk to y'all next week. This Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by KillerDock. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Did you know you could save up to 40% on your homeowner's insurance with a fortified roof? Learn more at FortifiedRoofingPros.com or call them at 251-973-9999. And also brought to you by Photonis Defense. Photonis Defense PD Pro Ultralight Ultra Compact Night Vision Systems. Simply the best in-class night vision systems ever built. Contact them at photonisdefense.com to learn more. Photonis Defense, Masters of Darkness.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo DePaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
And also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org. And also brought to you by Fishbites. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits as well as tackle at fishbites.com. And also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. And also brought to you by Mustad Fishing. 1 in 4 hooks in the world is made by Mustad Fishing. See why they're the best-selling hook brand. Enjoy 25% off your next order at mustad-fishing.com by using code GREATDAYS at checkout.